Okay, so I have not recorded the first 15 minutes, so I've just gone through, we did a check-in. I just want to open that for the others who listen. And then we're going through the assignments now, but when we get to this, we'll just run through it quickly. So then the second assignment is, once you have done this, you're going to now identify, you're going to design a value proposition. Can you see in front of you on the screen is the business model canvas approach. There's a green exercise. On the left, on top is an ad lib value proposition template. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so beautiful, thank you. So once after you've done assignment 1, and now you had the interview, you know now what the business is about, and you've made a recommendation, you're going to, as a consultant, identify a business value proposition, which is just this, it's one sentence that you're going to then identify as the consultant to your client, whether it is to your own organization or whether it is to a small business. So those are the 2 assignments for this week. Then next week, we are going to build on the second part of the business model canvas by bringing in the marketing or some of those things that we need, no repetition, but that we need then for week 5. We're going to bring in then the next phase of the business model canvas. So it's like building blocks, but we start with this today. Okay, any questions? Because now I'm going to go back to the beginning so that we can start. Any questions or comments? Nothing. Are you all excited?
Very much. Yes.
Thank you. You guys can really start. I'm going for next week, for week 5. I'm going to upload. There's about, is it 4 videos, 3-minute videos that then explain to you the whole business model canvas. It's animated, but it is so well done. If you've done that, but the business model canvas is a very, very global thing that is being used by a lot of small businesses, business schools and universities, and then also big businesses. Okay, there's somebody, Ahmed. Okay, so let's start with today. I'm not going to go through all the slides because this slide pack was very theoretical, and I'm going to, you get to know my style now. I will highlight something where I have gone through as well. Also, just one thing for the exams, I don't want you to worry about the exams. I'm going to have a chat with Sarah this week just to understand how they normally do the exams and what is the preferred approach that they have in the exams. Then in the last, let's say 3 weeks, I will then give you an outline to say, okay, these things will be, let's say this will be the framework for the exam. Let's say it is a quiz. Or let's say a case study, and then I will say to you, okay, these slides in the chapters are going to be important for the exam. So I will give you guidance for that as well. So I don't want you to stress about my exam. I will give you proper guidance for that. Will that help you?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, now I don't want you to stress about anything. Okay, so in terms of where we are focusing on today is in terms of small business ideas is creativity, opportunity, and feasibility. And the three things that they, from the cuts chapter, that they identified or highlighted, is that you can either do an imitative strategy. That means is you are identifying, you're doing a very similar thing like another company, but so it's like you copycat in a way, but then it's a question, will it work? But you identify maybe that is you want to copy, let's say, a strategy that has worked in the US but is not applicable in Ethiopia. And therefore you want to, and you love what is being doing in the US, and let's say you think this can also work very well in Ethiopia. So that is what the imitation strategy is. Or the next one is incremental strategy, is that you identify now, okay, you want to do that, but you are going to bring certain improvements in terms of a strategy that somebody else have done, but they have not addressed the gaps in terms of certain strategies. And then a radical innovation strategy is that one is disrupting the market status quo as is. So when you select your case study, I also want you just to identify, just for your own learning, and then just to share with, let's say, in an opening thing, so that I just understand a little more context on the business. To say, okay, Krista, this business that, let's say, Matar has selected has followed incremental strategy because this is the gap that they have seen. Or let's say Lazat can identify she has one of, or she has an entrepreneur that is going to disrupt the market and do a total radical innovation strategy. Then just good to give a context for me so that I just have a little understanding of that business and of the market, because then it helps me to give comments to you also back on that. Okay, any questions or comments on this one before I take you to the next one? Nothing. Okay, so let's go. Then the CATS book also, but you'll see I haven't really highlighted, so I promise you I'm not going to touch on this even on the exam, but I just wanted to show you the differentiator between the two ways to think that CATS has recommended about opportunity and business creation, and they refer to that as the effectuation model versus the casual model. But they use the same 4 steps in both, called feel, check, plan, and do. So those things, I really like the steps that they use: the feel, the check, the plan, and the do, to identify. Let's say under the effectual model is can you recognize what you want to do and make by having a business. So like, let's say Lazette said she's playing with the idea for a business for some time. So she can tell us then is, did she recognize she want to do or make something through a business on the left under the effectuation model, or did she decide she have a greater idea and want to start a business? That is the same thing, but under the casual model. Lazette, can you give us a little input on that business you are playing with? Where do you think it fits in? Under the effectuation model, feel, or the casual model?
Actually, it's both, I can say, because sometimes it's casual, sometimes it's a effectuation model. But mostly, I try just to keep the ideas of the clients and
Okay.
modify them and show them opportunities, because sometimes they don't feel all the picture, and in order to be more profitable, I can give some suggestion how to do it. But actually, I decide that my clients have a great idea. I start with this,
Yeah.
and I want they start business, but then I can recognize that they have to implement some additional tools or some additional elements in order to be more successful.
Okay, beautiful. So you can have it on both sides. It's just so that this is the theoretical one from CAT, so that you understand the differentiator between the reference to the effectuation model and the casual model. If you go to their step 2, the check, on the left they say first they assess, do they have the resources to deliver their product and services to their customers, versus on the other hand, on the casual models check is they assess their resources, then they get help if needed. So they identify, do they have a gap under their resources? Then they do assess the feasibility. So that one is quite different between the two. If we look at step 3, which is plan on both sides. On the effectuation model, said under plan is they offer the product and service and see if it sells. So it is a wait and see. Then under the casual modules, step 3, which is plan, is if it's feasible. Under the casual module, step 2, check. Okay. Then and they see there's interest, then they keep going, and if not, they go back to step 2, where they reassess the feasibility before they go back into step 3 of planning again. Then the last step 4, which is do under both. Under the effectuation model, they believe that if you get sales, keep going. If not, you go back to your check step to determine if it is a product or service that your clients want. Now, I wish these guys has used the empathy model, because then they wouldn't have wasted so much time by seeing if it's a wait and see game. Under the casual model, the step 4 do is they make a product or service and the company sells, and they jump into the market. I'll come now to you, Matar, because they've already done under the planning to check the interest, and if there was no interest at that stage, they already went back into the check under step 2 as well. Let me just... Matar?
Yes. So do you mean the casual model is little bit conservative way of thinking before starting any job, unlike the effectuation model where he is starting the job and see if it is working or not, but while the other one is more, I would say, realistic and no risk at all for the casual model. So the casual model is preservative, and while the effectuation is little bit have some kind of risk while thinking about the opportunity.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for that. Who else want to share their views on this as well? Thank you for that, Matarai. Who else want to share your views between the... Welcome, John.
Actually, I don't like to go to market before the business owners are not sure that their products will be sold. That's why I insist that on the second step, they check everything, starting from target market, what kind of products or services they are going to provide, to looking for, is it how many, like, let's say it's a mass, but how many the volume of target market, and after it's a marketing research, how to present their products, because it's a very actually painful and expensive to go from second step to fourth and go back. It takes time, money, and sometimes from the first how to say, from the first default, people usually accept everything very hardly, and they even can stop doing the business because they don't believe that something can happen. That's why I insist on that. People, when they're checking, actually it's doing with me or I do by myself, it should be almost 99% working formula. And on this step, even we try to small sales or to produce some kind of products in small amount in order to see how people will react on these products or services, in order to avoid going back and redoing the job.
Very interesting. Thank you for that. Olena?
Yes, I consider that a factual model is about the existing business and about updating already opportunities, suggesting their certain development for the next level, while casual model is about developing this like sort of startup, new business. So that's why this absolutely different focusing when you already have some information data and you can already focus on that and rely on that and develop from that. And the second one is when you're developing from the scratch.
Okay. Do you think, and I want to ask you that, thank you so much for that. Do you think you will use the same model, whether it is a product versus a service? Meaning, so let's say you offer your skills as, because all of you are subject matters on something. That means you easily can become consultants. Do you think you will use the same model as a consultant, services versus products? Please come. Just see what your personal view is on that.
Actually, I've never seen the pure model. It's always combining something from one model and second model. By myself, I've never met like going through casual model or effectuation. It's always some combination
Of the two. Okay.
of the two, yes.
Very, thank you for that. The last one that I want to ask is, let's say you have a product. Matar, I'm going to come to, let's go to Matar first, before I ask the last question.
It's not a question actually, but if I have a service and I'm a little bit expert on it, I will go direct to effectuation model if I have a service. Because I have the experience and the expertise to one second, to do the work quicker than the casual, because from my understanding that casual is little bit conservative, and maybe if I have a product, I will be little bit worried about introducing the product to the market and losing maybe some money. So I will take some slower actions or steps in or before introducing the model to the market. So I need to prepare something, I need to assess the resources, something like that. But if I have the experience and if I'm giving services, not products, I will go directly to the other model.
Beautiful. Matar, then I want to, I'm coming now to you, Yusuf. Let's go first to Yusuf. Yusuf? Thank you, Matar. That was wonderful. Thank you. Yusuf? Yusuf, can you hear me? Yusuf, let me just. Yusuf, can you hear me? I have your mic seems to.
Now, yeah. So because you muted me before because of the noise.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my understanding of the effectuation and the casual model. So the first model will be if you have an existing business and you want to add a new service. Okay. But for the casual model, if you want to start a new business from the scratch. So if you have an existing business and you add to, let's say, to add one like new product line or new service, you will use this one because you have everything almost ready and you just need to add a new service. Yes. But for the casual model, you will need to start everything from the so planning from scratch. Then you can decide if you will go with this business model or not.
Yes. Okay. Can I ask you then, Yusuf? Let's say you bring in now a product where there's quite high production costs or input costs involved. So remember now what Matar also said. The one is more conservative, where the other one and risk averse, versus the other one is less risk averse and less conservative. But let's say you have now introducing a new product line where there is quite high input costs. Which one would be more beneficial to the company from a cost perspective?
I got your point now. I think the second model will be more conservative, so you can carefully analyze the data you have, how much like capital you need to invest, if you need to get like extra shareholders to support you with the finance, or if you need to get financing from somewhere to get the product line done. And actually, I'm in this stage nowadays because I'm expanding my business. I'm adding a new service, which is snow removal. So we need to buy some equipments, which is very expensive. Okay. So now we are in this stage trying to find zero interest like finance, because we don't usually deal with the interest. And number two, we are adding some new shareholders so to support with the cost. Okay. So actually, it's very interesting to have those business models to help us to determine which business model we'll go with.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Anyone else who want to give an input on this one before I go to the next one? Thank you so much for this. That's really I love it when we're so interactive. Okay. Then a little more on the causal model. There you'll see on the left, they're going to start, or they recommend that we use the business model canvas. So that you just know what I refer to in terms of the business model canvas. Inside this graph is a little thingy that says there's a pinkish or I don't know what color that is, but there's a solution and a problem. Can you see that?
It's too small.
Okay, but you don't have to see the detail. It's just that little thingy is, we're going to on other slides look at it in way more detail. And then next week, we're going to look in that more detail. So that's where they say is, if you want to look at this the one we've done now, that Yusuf said that the more, like Matar also said, the more conservative one, that is where they say, if you use that one, then the business model canvas is a very good approach. Okay. How we also do it with a business model canvas is you start with a lot of ideas in general, and then you narrow it down to the one that is going to be the best from a cost perspective. We look at the key partners, the value proposition, the activities, the key resources, the customer relations, the customer segments, the channels, the cost structures, and the revenue streams. So what I'm going to do with you at the end of this course, I think you're going to be experts in business model canvas. As we do, let's say 1 week we do marketing. Then I'm going to bring back the business model canvas and say, okay, let's do these things now aligned with the business model canvas. When we get to the finance week, apart from the finance, we'll bring it back and say, okay, how would you implement this, let's say, on the business model canvas? So by the end of the course, you can, if somebody in your sleep asks you, identify a business, a value proposition, or what can you recommend in terms of the key resources, you know, and you can become an expert later on this as well. Okay. Now, what they also then said, once you've done this, you follow the 4 steps from the previous model: feel, check, plan, and do. This is where they do it here at the bottom. You see at the bottom, there are 4 blocks. The one is feel, then check, then plan, then do. Can you see that? Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, thank you. Okay, now let me take you to, and we are going to take a break in, I'm not going to take you through the stuff that's it's really very boring. We are going to take a break at 4 o'clock, okay? Then another tool that they introduced in the CATS textbook is to say, if you take it from idea to opportunity, but through creativity, they refer it to the Scamper model. Who of you are familiar with the Scamper model? Yusuf, I'm just going to take your hand off so that I know when you are putting your hand up to say, yes, I'm familiar, or is that okay? So is any one of you familiar with the Scamper model? Okay. So on the right, I've put it in a little block for you. There you can see the S stands for substitute, which is number 1 on the block on the left, to say what opportunities are the result from substituting or replacing something that already exists. So that is the S in the Scamper model. Then this number 2 referred to the C in the Scamper model, which is combine. So number 2 is what separate products or services or businesses can you combine to create a distinct business? So I'll give you an example. Is Ollie online? Ollie, are you online? Is Ollie online? I just want to quickly see if Ollie is online. Ollie, can you hear me? Ollie is online, which is maybe not online. Okay. So let's have that, for example. I'll use a different example. Is we have one of the consulting companies in South Africa is called Accenture. So they compete. Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Professor. How are you?
Are you online?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so Ali, I just want to use an example. So you can put off your mic. I just want to use an example of a typical 2 examples, one in South Africa and let's say one in the consulting environment. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, cutie pie. Okay, you can put your mic off. I hear that Baba crying. Okay, so let's say, for example, a few years ago, Accenture, one of the competitors in South Africa of McKinsey. So Accenture called me in and said, Krista, we have a lot of IT employees that we want to not retrench, but we want to put them in a company so that this company, all the IT specialists, all the experts, then could start consulting back to Accenture. So Accenture then would guarantee them all their consulting business in terms of IT, but then Accenture in terms of, we call it enterprise development or supplier development, then would put their money, instead of developing entrepreneurs that is nothing to do with their business, will develop this business. Now, what they had to do then here is they had to take, this is the combined one. So there's, let's say, programmers, data analysts, a person looking at security, cyber security, cyber forensics. So it is all the separate products, but all IT related. They put them all in a company that became a specialist expert consulting IT company back into Accenture. So that is an example of what Accenture did in terms of combine. Another example is, let's say in South Africa, we in the construction industry, we had a meeting with the CEO of the construction charter, which oversees all the transformation or development of all companies, corporates, and SMEs in South Africa under them. So what they wanted to do is, let's say, form a company with plumbers in, with builders in, of electricians in. So it's all industry related, but they wanted to combine specialists companies so that they can, if they go on big building projects, let's say a roads or schools or government or whatever big projects where they want to build, they don't have to go out on, let's say, a tender. They then can say, but they put all the projects back to these specialist companies they have combined and developed, so that they can ensure that they have access to market. So that's an example, let's say, of that. Okay. I just want to see if there's a hand. Yes, Yusuf?
Yeah, I just want to for more understanding. So, do you mean instead of outsourcing those trades, they will have kind of joint venture between different companies to be able to handle a bigger project? Is that correct?
Yes. That is also a form of that. Yeah, that's a different form, but it's also one that can work.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Then number 3 is the A in Scamper, adapt. What could you adapt from other industries? Okay. Now, in our case, Lazat, please come in with examples from yours as well, so that I don't only use mine. How are you, let's say, if you look at your entrepreneurs, how can you help them to adapt certain best practices from other industries for them to work? Do you have a specific example? Lizette, can you hear me? Okay, so if she comes back, I'll ask her. So let's say, for example, what we do is we onboarded now 25 businesses, but they're from different industries. Some is so smaller business, some are coaches, some are trainers, some are in solar, some are in mining and cables. Some are in logistic, having big trucks. So what we do is when we put them together in training, we look at, so what are the one using that the other one can use or use best practices from that. So we had to exercise on that. So one example was some of the women have trucks, but they don't have contracts for work. Where versus other women have contracts, but they don't have trucks. So what we then looked at, and we still need to look at more incoming cohorts, is how can we adapt from the one side what the other one doesn't have, and adapt from the other side what the other one on the left doesn't have, so that we can bring them together so that they can use trucks for those who have contracts, and those who have contracts but no trucks can then work with one another. But then we need to look at what things do we need to help them to adapt to actually make this work. So that's just one example of what we had to look at. Okay, I'm going to open it for more questions once we are finished with the R. Then number 4 under the M of Scamper is magnify or modify, which is what can you make more noticeable? That means magnify, or different, modify in some way from your competitors. So that for me is in a way to say, yes, you're going to copycat a little, there's a gap, but how are you going to differentiate yourself so that you have a competitive advantage that is visible to your clients out there, to say, no, yes, we know they are maybe that company is maybe longer in the market, but this one has something that we really, really need. So let's use them, give them a chance, use the other one still, but if it works with company B here, we can give them more work in future. Okay, so that's an example of that. The P, that's number 5, is how can you put to how can you make it, put it to use for alternative uses? Okay, for example, I'm just trying to think of one of the examples. Okay, is, let's say, for example, somebody. Okay, so let's say one of the women which we develop, Lazat, you must please also comment from your examples as well. She had a 1-ton bakkie, and she initially, when she started out, she only did deliveries for florists. Okay. Then she said, okay, but now the florist went out of business. So how can we then had to help her to say, how can we use it to use the 1-ton bucket then for other businesses? So that's one example, which is an easy example. But if you have products or services, is to say, yes, you only go into that Zoom, but how can you, based on the needs of your clients, make it used for alternative uses. Okay. Then number 6 is the E in eliminate. How could you get rid or eliminate of something the customers has to do? So let's say there's a ineffectiveness in a process, whether it's resource or cost. It doesn't matter if it's human resource or time or cost resources. How could you eliminate to make it lean and more efficient? Then the R stands for rearrange. Okay. How can you rearrange the way how you or your clients are doing things, whether it's products or services, to whether it's location or what it is? How can you rearrange it to make it more efficient and effective? So those are, even Yusuf, when you start at, or anyone when you start at your own division or in a company, just remember the word scampered, and then just try to memorize what it stands for, so that you quickly can go through that to say, is there any of these that we can apply to make things better, efficient, and more effective in terms of value proposition and competitive advantage. Okay, any comments, questions, or examples, whether it is in your company, whether it's in your own business, or whether it is in a friend's business, so that you can just share with others. Yusuf?
I just dropped something in the chat. Can you please? So is this like a modified like structure of Six Sigma, or it's something different?
I'm going to lie to you because I'm not a Six Sigma specialist. So if one of you are Six Sigma specialist and you perceive it as that, then you can please explain to us, because that is enrichment that all of us would love.
So one second, I will drop something in the chat room, so everyone can take a look and discuss.
Okay, so anyone, even if you after this week go and read up a little, I'll also go and read up about that to see what is the comparison between that. Even if it's a next week's discussion and you want to start it, then said, Yusuf, the question that you asked, it was so fantastic. This is what my learning was last week. We can even start that next week. With the discussion, if nobody in the group knows about it and you want to go and research a little this week. Very good question. Okay. Yusuf, my old eyes need to, okay, I need to click on that. I will take this picture and put it in one of the slides, so that I remember as an opening slide to next week that we bring this in. Is that okay? Okay. Anyone else who wants to maybe respond to Yusuf's question? Come, all the clever people, all clever people in this class. Abulela, Ahmed, Ulena, anyone who wants to give it a try of what you think? Are you all very quiet today? Are you still there? Are you still there?
Professor.
Ahmed.
Hello.
Thank you. Yes, I'm listening.
Can be the other use, like if we have, for example, a restaurant and it didn't start working, or it didn't what can I say, brought the expected revenue. So we can change the business. Like restaurant has, they have fire, what do you say, license, they have health license, they have water, electricity. So we can change it to any other business that might utilize the same, such as hairdresser for ladies, for example, right?
Okay.
I'm talking about the P put to other uses.
Well, yes, you can, in that context, you can, I don't think you can sublet. I don't know how your country's laws work, but in South Africa, we have things like health and safety, which not necessarily will allow the two to coexist in the same premises. So do you have in mind that the one
No,
closed
it's
and
not about,
open?
it's not, no, it's not about existing in the same premises. I'm talking about closing one and starting the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. Who else want to comment? Okay. So what we're going to do after just I want to, this is where we start. Okay. After the break, we're going to start on this slide called customer job interviews. Then we're going to go into the empathy map and on the first two sections of the business model canvas for this week. I want you to master that first. Then next week, I'll show you the rest what we're going to do next week. But then next week, once we've done this, we're going to go into the second part of that. So let's be back 10 past 4. Then it's a 7-minute break. And then we're going to start with the work of the first assignment in terms of, it's not the job interviews that you think about, but it's aligned with the business model canvas. Okay, so let's be back 10 past. It's 6 minutes from now for a break. Okay, it's 10 past. Is everybody back? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Elena. Thank you. Okay, so can you see in front of you on the screen, there's a slide, customer job interviews. Okay, thank you. So remember this, from this slide, it's going to be applicable to your first assignment for this week. So you can look at this from different angles. You can look at this like, let's say, Oli they have a non-profit, for example. So they want to determine, yes, the non-profit, that means is they do good for community. So Oli, and I know there's other ones of you also doing good community work, or the CSI in here. So it's, let's say for example, Oli wants now to determine what are the real problems in the community so that they can, from their side, determine the actual solution or product that needs to be offered for this. That's one scenario. So let's say community work. Another scenario is, let's say Lizette works with SMEs, that means small businesses. She then needs to identify what are their real challenges so that she can come up with the right recommendations and solutions for them. Or for example, let's say Olena works, you in data analytics, Olena, as far as I remember. Now we work with clients all over the world. She needs to determine what is the best solution that needs to be offered for that client. Okay. Or anyone who works in a corporate can use this in a team context as well, or even sit with somebody reporting to you. That means a person underneath in the reporting line, or in to your manager or who you report to. It can work any side. What we teach entrepreneurs is the first thing is we're going to go to the empathy map. Is we say to them is don't just give to them what you think will work. First, start by listening and asking questions so that you understand what really are their challenges, so that then you can rather do a customized solution. Otherwise, what we also recommend is don't you wasting your time and their time, but just going in, giving them a solution. So this is what our company can do for you, because you don't know how many companies have already done that. And so why do they need to pick you over somebody else who's all of you doing the similar and same thing? Now, what the CUTS text refer to is to decide is they call it as framing a question. You must decide who and what you want to help. Okay, so that's what they refer to framing a question. The second one is gather inspiration. That means is make an emotional connection to a client. For example, I'll give you an example of one of the big pharmaceutical companies. I do their consulting, and I develop their entrepreneurs. Now, I'm a small development company versus the previous company was a big company. They're on radio, everything, and they're trying to get their work back. This pharmaceutical company is not interested in anyone else than our company to do the work. Why? Because they've made an emotional connection to us, and they've made an intellectual connection to us. They've made a trust connection to us. Therefore, they have made a loyalty decision. So no matter what others can, because we walk that extra mile, we really understand what they want is they will find reasons why they shouldn't use anyone else than our company for their consulting and development. So a heart connection is a very powerful loyalty decision with some customers. Then the third one is to help them generate ideas. This is, for example, where you can do mind mapping, brainstorming. We're going to do now brainstorming. That's why I've made it yellow. We've just done Scamper to help them to, and there's way other methodologies as well, to help them to think outside the box and identify fresh ideas. Okay, but it's one thing to identify an idea versus making that idea tangible. They must be able to see it, feel it, touch it, of a potential solution so that they can get excited about it and buy into it. So whether you do it through a mock-up, whether you do it through a pilot, for example, we had a client that sponsored a portion of the women we are developing. But they sit in a different city than we are sitting, so they've never seen visually. What we have done then is we have gone and developed the things visually for them. We are busy putting podcasts in them so that the entrepreneurs can tell their stories from before to after. We have put a success or impact hub on our website where they can go and see, wow, they've developed this entrepreneur. Click on their websites to go and see what has been done there. So I think the week before that, they came, they visually see that they met some of the entrepreneurs. So now they want to give a little more money for the development, because visually they can see it, emotionally they can see this impact. So also, whether you're in small business or big business, the brain, how we take decisions, is very much aligned. Okay, so they must make a mind connection. Yes, it can work, and they must make a heart connection, because when those two work together, the hand goes out and say, where can I sign to accept your proposal? Where can I sign? I'm happy with the money you're going to charge us to deliver this product or service. But if there's a disconnect between the mind and the heart, they will find objections to ask more questions, to do more comparisons, to negotiate more before they will accept a proposal. Okay, so that's very, very important. Okay, then also is you have inspired them, you have given them more ideas, you've made it tangible to them. Now it's a question. Let's do a small, if you're not going to do our entire big thing, is where you can also say to them, let's test this. If you're happy with this, then we can go to phase 2 in terms of that. In the world where our number 6 is very, very important in the world we live in today, is storytelling. So as much as whether you're in a Siemens, whether you're in an NPO, whether you like, I think Matar, who of you are selling chickens? Matar, are you the one selling the chickens?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so whether it's Matar, there's whether it's chickens, there's a story. People love the story behind where did this come from? Why are you doing this? So it's a story beyond just making money. If you can link story to impact, it's much easier to sign on the dotted line to say we accept the proposal. Next year, somebody else will say, no, we need to give it to somebody else. No, look what is the impact that Matar is doing through the story of filling hungry tummies. But his is not so much hungry tummies, it's a little more high level, more wealthy people. Matar, then what is the story behind what you are going to do? Okay. Now, tell me a little about how important, what you've observed in terms of your own business where you're working on, your company, people who have businesses, what you see on television in terms of storytelling. Why do you think storytelling, sharing the story, is so important in business? Come, Matar?
Yes.
And then Olena?
So share the story because it will give us some experience of what is happening, I would think, and it will share the experience and something like that from my side.
Beautiful, beautiful. Olena?
Yes, by working in consulting, I can say that storytelling and cases of our previous clients or existing clients are very helpful when we discuss new projects with new client, because we can share our experience, what we have already done, that we have certain expertise, for instance, in implementing certain CRM or other applications, and we already know the advantages. And by telling the stories, we can also add more value and add also our partnership can be more reliable.
Beautiful. You used the very thing is reliable. It gives you credibility. Beautiful. Lizette, I'm going to come to you now. Mohammed, is that said story represent the emotional connection with the customer? Fantastic. Beautiful. Lizette?
I agree with my peers about emotion, about experience, about adding value, but I think it's a main idea to share stories. It's to find the people who is sharing the same value, because when we're telling stories, people can find the same values, and that's why they will trust us more than to, for example, in other companies. So I think it's also very important.
Beautiful. That's very important. Yusuf? Yusuf? Yusuf, we can't hear you. I can see your mic is working. Yusuf, do you want to try again? You want to try again, Yusuf?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I think one important thing about storytelling will be giving like practical examples, and this will help because you don't have to invent the wheel. So you will get practical examples instead of theoretical ones, and you will start from the other people like ended. So you don't have to. It will save like money and time. And as my colleagues like mentioned, it will create some emotional connections with the customers.
Beautiful.
Which is very important.
If any one of you going to be in who's a little curious and study in terms of let's say how the brain neuroplasticity or neuro-linguistic programming, how our brain is programmed. So let's say you have told a story of why are you doing what you're doing, and let's say the story is not fixing or only focusing on, yes, you're going to charge the money, but you're not focusing so much on the commercial side, but on the impact, whether it's to the environment or the community. And now those things go and filter, your brain filters things that the brain see as important, and those things the brain doesn't see as important, it disregards. Okay, so let's say you go and sit down a decision-making committee, and let's say Ulina's company has made a proposal, a consulting proposal, but they told the story of what the company stands for. Then, for example, that person sitting in that committee that need to decide on that, if any one of them have seen the story, their brain has registered the story as impactful to them. It will bring up a visual in their brain, or some connection, whether it's a smile or that means there's an instant recognition. And without them even knowing, the brain makes a tick to say yes. So those persons whose brain has made those ticks, because of the aligned heart-brain connection, will find reasons why they need to rather support their company versus another company. The programming of the brain is a fascinating subject to study, but storytelling is very important. Okay, thank you so much for this interactive discussion. What we're going to focus on now is brainstorming. Okay, so I want to go back to that. So don't worry about, I've handed, Mpilo has uploaded just an example for you from, you'll see that's the one I've explained to you. That's the company where I did my training in terms of business model canvas. You can go and Google them as well. So I'm going to share almost everything I've learned over the next few weeks in alignment with the other subject matters that we are going to do. So we've uploaded there a document, just ground rules for interviewing for the business model canvas. So you can go through that in your own time. But the main rule, I will quickly go through you in the blue. The one rule is to say, if you go into a interview with a client, whether that client is somebody you report to, somebody who reports to you, whether it's a client of your corporate or whether it is a small business, go into that as if it's if you have a beginner's mind. That means is go in to listen and not to dominate and prescribe. The second rule is that the skill to listen. I don't know who of you know Otto Schwammer. That's in leadership work. When we work with corporates, we work with Peter Singer and Otto Schwammer's work as well. And they have introduced a concept called Theory U. And one of the Theory U concepts that they've introduced is that you need to develop a level 4 type of listening. So when we teach listening skills, when we do business work or with entrepreneurs, we get them through a level 1, 2, 3, up to a level 4 listening, which we're not going to do in this course now, but I'm just planting seeds for those who are curious and learning hungry to go and or ask me afterwards and say, Krista, what did you say about learning for listening skills? Now that is go in to listen and not to talk. Okay, and we'll come to the empathy map so that you understand better why. The rule 3 is get the facts and not the opinions. However, when we go into listening or coaching or communication skills, we do teach the skill to say, learn to distinguish what is fact and what is opinion. That means observation, or what is your perception, okay? Because how the brain works in the majority of people is that opinion becomes fact in their mind. Then from the person who coaches or that need to give the solution, is it doesn't help you go to what you say is the facts, but their perception or opinion has become in their mind the fact. What you then need to do, so it's awareness is very important to determine, okay, that is not, it doesn't help you go and try to change that person's mind by convincing them of the real facts. You're just going to irritate them and make them angry. You first need to work what the perception or the opinion that has become a fact in their mind. Work with that. And then later on, you can bring in the real fact. But if you're going to go in with the real fact and try to make them wrong, you have lost the deal, most probably there and then, or you're going to do damage control afterwards, because the brain works differently in terms of when perception becomes fact. Even if you can see it is not the true fact, then you need to step back, and that's where very, very good communication skills come in. But you cannot make that person wrong. Then the fourth rule is you ask the question why. In coaching, they forbid us to ask the question why. But what they try to say here through the business model canvas is you need to drill down until you have a true understanding of what the real issue is. So whether you ask why or whether you ask a different question, the principle is to drill down in your listening to get to the true understanding of the real problem. Okay. You'll see now after this in the empathy map how everything fits into one together. Now, rule number 5 is when you have this interview, stay away from selling. Okay, this is about learning what the real gaps are, learning what the real problems are, what the real pains are. And it's not about selling. Selling comes in later, but now it is about deep listening. Then, if you're not sure, rule number 7 is follow up. If you're not sure about something, get clarity, follow up. Or if a person say, come back to me, I'm not sure, but come back to me next week. Follow up. It's about connection, 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 connection. Okay. Rule number 8 is this is not always open the physical door at the end, but it is by communicating and creating such a connection that whether they don't want your service or product now, even in a year's time, when that option comes up, that happened to me with this pharmaceutical company. They were busy with that another company. A year later, the lady contacted me and said, Krista, I still remember that day when I did the training with you. And I came back to my company and said, we want to work with your company. But we were still in a contract a year later. But they remembered that connection that was made. There was no selling, but the connection that was made that day, and they came back a year later. So that is how important communication in terms of whether it is up to your boss or down to somebody reporting to you or to a customer or to a SME is. Okay, any questions or comments on this before we go to the empathy map? Nothing. Okay, so let's get to the empathy map. I love the empathy map. Okay, can you see in front of you? So this is what's called in the business model canvas, the empathy map. Can you all see there's a circle and there's a square? Can you see that? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is what you're going to use. Yes, the principles of the do's and don'ts in an interview of this. Yes, the principles of this. If you are not already excellent in interviewing, just as a reminder, what many times happen in business, whether we consultants, whether we are engineers, whether we are consultants to entrepreneurs, whether we are entrepreneurs. So when we ask, later on we're going to do, in one of the weeks, we're going to do pitching, but on a different level you're not used to yet, okay? So what we discovered with our entrepreneurs, and I was also guilty in this initially, is we go in from the left to the right. We go in and offer. You see that little gift there? We say, ha, this is our gift to you. This is why you need to use Siemens, or this is why you need to use Olena as a consultant. I'm just using examples, or why you need to use the difference makers to develop your entrepreneur. That's our company. Is we go in and offer our products and services because we think we know what they want. Okay, We go and tell them what gains they're going to our products and services are going to create by using our products and services, and how we are going to solve their problems and their pains for them. And then you sit and you present, and then everybody looked at you. And I sat here once, and I'll give you an example, to a German company. So I've never presented to a German company. So we did a hectic presentation to them. Afterwards, the CEO of this German company took the paper and he threw it over the boardroom table. And I looked at it because we all thought it was a very good presentation. What we missed was we did not know what is the context and the cultural context to present to a German company. So the first thing they told us, their rule is, if you can't put it on a one-pager to them, it's not worth the paper it's written on. We had to go back and redo things, because they loved my one partner, Lindy, who came into the presentation. She was a strategist to them before, so they gave us a second chance. Okay, they told us their rules. Not all clients are going to do that. So you need to do research before you go in. But how we changed it is, the next time we didn't go in with a presentation, because we learned now how we need to work through the empathy map. So we go in to listen, and we said, okay, Dieter, that was the CEO. Tell us, what are the pains that you and your staff and your company have at this stage? What pain points are there? We listened, and we asked, as they tell us one thing, we asked the question, we asked the question, we asked the question, until we got to the bottom of, now we understand the true pain points. Then we said, okay, tell us, what would make you, what gains does your company now, low-hanging fruits, does your company now need? What will make your company, certain companies you can use your word smile, what will make your exco smile in terms of low-hanging fruits? Questions, 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 until now we know truly what will make them smile, what will they feel is giving them gains in terms of products and services. And then we said, because the customer jobs one is a very interesting category, because a lot of companies do have the skills to do that, but a lot of their staff don't have the time and resources to do things. Or in some companies, they don't know how to do it, they don't have the time to do it. So in that category, what we look at then is, so what type of activities, jobs, do you expect from your staff or your management, but that you don't get to do, and they don't get to deliver? What frustrations do you have there? And we listened and we made notes. So we walked out of that meeting. We did not offer them a solution, but we had a deep understanding to say, we know now what pains do they have, and the circle in the bottom lower part. So now in the square on the bottom part, we know now what customized solution do we need to go and put together as a pain reliever? Because the job we offered them before as a solution was nothing aligned with their pains, things that they need to get gains to their shareholders in their exco, and the things they don't have time or skills to do. So now we know exactly what pain reliever we need to give to their pain. because it doesn't help you give somebody a drip, all your services that you can do, but they only need one small little thingy to do. Or now we know what gift in that box as a consultant can we offer them as a product and service, as game creators, to make the exco, the management, the shareholders smile. Then when we went back, they gave us money to develop women. But the first time we went in, we did not go in from the left to the right. We go in with what we think they want, but we missed the entire boat, because what we think they want was not what they really needed. So that's why in the exercise, what we have attached to you, and I just want to take you through the next 3 slides, and then I'm going to open it for questions. Okay. What I've attached, or I've loaded for you, is each one of these blocks in this circle gains. We've listed a list from the business model canvas. Trigger questions. You go and identify what questions will work for you in this assignment to ask someone in terms of what will give them a game creator. Or what questions in terms of the pains and the jobs will work for you to get practice in terms of this. So I want to take you there. So the next slide you will see there on the left, I've inserted there, but this is also as a PDF for you on Moodle, all the questions from the business model canvas that comes with that, to say that red top block is the gains, the top block in the circle. What type of questions can you ask a client or a SME to determine what type of gains do they need? So that at the end, once you have a better understanding of what are the game creators that will make them smile, then you jot a note to them and said, okay, this is a potential solution for them. Okay, on the next slide, we have added there on the right part of the circle, that part of the business model canvas, is what type of questions can you ask? And you can, if you don't like the questions, you can use any question. I'm teaching you a best practice in business model canvas, what I paid for $800, so that I can give you through this course then also for free and for gratis, so that you can become experts as well on business model canvas. No? Then types of questions that you can ask. Okay. Then on the next slide is, you'll see that's the bottom, the unhappy face in the circle. Okay, what is the pains that you need to go and design a pain? I'm coming now to you, Yusuf, by type of pain reliever questions. And I've attached to you all the questions from Business Model Canvas. I'm coming back now to you, Yusuf. So what you need to go and identify, take your highlighter, identify which questions resonates with you, what would work for you. Then you do a list, which ones goes in gains, which ones go in the circle in pains, which ones in customers. So that when you go and have an interview now, you go and jot down your questions, and then you listen, and you listen, and you even keep the questions with you, so that if you're out of questions and you need to ask a new question, that you can, because this is practice, until you have an understanding what are their pains, gains, and jobs they can't do. Once you have done that, You don't offer them a solution. You go and sit and you design the square gift of giving gain creators to their gains, pain relievers to their pains, and what of your solutions, products and services can you overcome them to so that they can sign on the dotted line. Okay, you're going to write that up, whether you do it in a table, but make it easy to read and easy for you to do and easy for me to read. It's like you're going to present it to them, whether it's a PowerPoint or Word. It doesn't matter, but it must be professional. Okay, then in the next week, you're going to build your solution and present your solution to them. What you want is a sign at the end of week 5, a sign on the dotted line for your product or service. Have you convinced them? Okay, Yusuf, your hand is up. Yusuf, do you want to say something, or is the hand not really up? Okay, Yusuf, as soon as you can speak, you can do that. I have attached to you 2 examples. What I also have attached to you in Moodle, this you can see at the bottom, is coming from page 20. There's a case study. Then you can go to page 20. It's from a Chinese seller. There's an example of an interview that was done between what was the issues for the Chinese consumers, let's say, and the Chinese sellers, so that you can see the differentiator between, let's say, under the Chinese seller is what would make them smile. If they can get higher prices, if they get fast responses, if they get 100% paid on time, what jobs don't they have time or resources for to sell new and used goods? Okay, for them that is something that's a gap for them. What pains do they have? Those are the purple stickers. Is they can't process payments. They have issues with logistics and infrastructure, and they have poor access to customers. Now look at the other side. So that was interviews that was held from 2 different angles, from the Chinese sellers, but then they went to say the Chinese consumers. So what are your problems? And their jobs is to find the yellow ones and acquire goods. Their pains was low quality from Chinese sellers, lack of trust. Then on the line between gains and pains is the high prices that the Chinese sellers are asking. What gains would you need? Exactly what I want. But then it's a question, this was an incomplete interview, but what is it that you want? What exactly do you want? Go deeper. Okay, so this is an example of an incomplete interview. Instant access or use, incomplete interview. What does it mean? Instant. What do you see? What would make you smile and gains in terms of instant access? Go deeper, have an understanding. Because this consultant, if there was a full interview between these 2, this consultant in the middle would have been able to bring them together. But because there was an incomplete interview on the one side, you can see there's still a misalignment between what the one want versus what the other one want and offer. Okay, I'm just finishing this slide. There's another example, and then I'll put it again. Out for question between micro entrepreneurs and Chinese sellers, where the interview was, okay, Mike, let's say SMEs, small businesses, what will give you gains? What are your pains, and what are the things on the jobs that you is problematic to you? And then the same on the Chinese sellers, okay? That brings over from the previous one, and then to see how should they have brought this together. But this we will go deeper into when we work on marketing. Okay, I just want to show you. You can use yellow post-its. You can use little papers. You can use a highlighter. You can have a pen. But at the end, when you come in, if you can't do it in a diagram like this, you can type it up. You can put it in a table. But the sooner you get into the thinking mode of how the business canvas work, the more powerful beyond this course you're going to use it wherever you go. Okay, any questions or comments? Matar?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
What
I'm
I
listening.
understood here is that, yes, what I understood is that we will go with a company and or someone as a consultant, and we start to ask him questions, and we'll find him something to help him to gain to be gain creators and then reliever, and to give him the product or seller that will help him and to help solving his issue. Okay, this is our
Yes.
assignment through
Yes.
this list of questions. But the last two slides that we have seen here, yes, I mean the previous. Can you go back to the previous two? No, I mean
This
where
one.
we have the two sides, the Chinese seller and Chinese
Don't worry
consumer
about
as an
that.
example.
Yes.
No,
You
what
don't
I'm
have to.
saying that
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that I am concentrating on one of them. So
Yes.
I will go, for example, to a seller to ask him about what so and so, some questions, then I give him a
Yes.
consultation about this one. So like
Yes.
that's right?
Beautiful.
Okay, that's right. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I just wanted to confirm on.
Okay. The purpose of
But on
this
the other
is,
side, let me
yeah.
continue my point of view. On the other side, I would think that to give him a good answer for his queries, I should on the other side see his consumers, what are their needs as well, what they will make happy. So if I will get, if I am trying to help a seller and I have answers from the consumers, at that time I can give him practical solutions. Is this
Yes.
right? What I'm saying?
Yes, but for this, that is the idea at the end is if you're going to consulting or if you're going to solutioning, that you understand both sides. But for the sake of this assignment, we start with one side. So you choose,
Okay.
Mohammed, you choose whether you want to have this interview, let's say, with your egg producer, or whether you want to have this interview with one or two of your egg clients, not your egg, your chicken clients, or if you want to have this interview in the company where you are working. So the purpose of this is to introduce this empathy map, okay? And that you start becoming accustomed to start thinking, not immediately solutioning, but start with listening. And then solutioning, but solutioning from the listening perspective. Does it make sense?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so
Yes.
whether you choose in your own company, whether you choose some of your chicken clients, whether you choose whoever you want, is as we're going to build on this every week, I'm going to introduce a new building block and a new building block and a new building block. Okay, so by the end of the 11 weeks, you would have gone, whether we do finance or marketing or logistics or whatever the case is, we're going to bring it back to a building block of the business model canvas. Happy? Okay. Any questions on this? More questions? Thank you. You're more than welcome to send me a WhatsApp as well. What I am going to do, once we're finished with the questions, please ignore the from slide 24, and then you'll see on slide 26 is assignment 2. I'm going to keep that over. Okay, so that you only finish this. So next week, I will bring in the part-time and the other 2 entrepreneurs in with us, but then I will let Mpilo change this assignment to next week's assignment. So ignore from slide 24, then I'll bring that into weeks 5 as well. Okay, I really want you to enjoy this interview this week, because you can use this in your corporate, you can use it in a relationship, you can use it with your children once you master these principles. You can use it for if you want to get a promotion, if you work with your staff, but you need to start mastering some of these questions in the empathy map. Okay, any more questions or comments? Anyone is uncertain about what you need to do this week?
Everything is
yes?
Thank you.
It is close to coaching, because you know, if you want to close deals, listening skills, pitching skills, asking the right questions are so important. And that's why I don't want to rush it. I want you to master it. Okay. Any more questions? I see there's a mic on. There's no hand up. Are you all okay? I just need to know, are you all okay and know what you need to do for next week?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then when we're going to do, then thereafter, I'm going to bring in the rest of the chapter in terms of after page 23. Then we're going to build on that the value proposition, so you can start thinking about that so long in terms of the value proposition. And then I'm going to, on page 28, I'm going to introduce the model canvas to you, and put a few videos for you online, and then bring in the part and full-time entrepreneur in alignment with this context. Okay. Okay, so let me stop sharing so that you can see me. You must all have a blessed week. Remember, next Sunday, everything for week 1 to 4 must please, because we've extended a lot of grace, if I can put it like that, so that all of you can catch up, get into the rhythm of the requirements of all the courses you're doing, and with your work and with your private life. But from next week, the pace in terms of the work that needs to be done, because it's going to be very practical assignments, is going to pick up a little. Don't stress about the exams. I'm going to give you guidance. Okay, about 3 weeks before the time, I'll work on a guideline document after I had a chat with Sarah this week. Okay, any questions? Getting clarity for the last time? Any comments? Are you all happy? All happy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Professor. Thank you.
Okay. Have a blessed
Yes.
week, and if you have a question, send me a WhatsApp.
Thank you,
Okay.
Professor.
Okay, I'm going to close the session now, and tomorrow we will upload it on the on Moodle. Bye bye.